how should I differentiate whether am I speaking fluently out of depth or am I just being confidently gibberish? Because there are a lot of times that I'm just speaking a lot of words, but
Fluency is not a problem. Confidence is not a bad thing in itself. The problem is when you assume confidence to be
Namaste Acharya Ji. Thank you so much for this book. And I was actually reading this chapter, and this part stuck me the most, which says the message is simple. If you speak fluently, you're worth listening to. And if you can confidently spout gibberish, you are celebrated. This is what we now reward. So, my question is, how should I differentiate whether am I speaking fluently out of depth or am I just being confidently gibberish? Because there are a lot of times that I'm just speaking a lot of words, but
the attention has to be on the center the words are coming from. The problem is when the attention is on fluency and confidence. Fluency is not a problem. Confidence is not a bad thing in itself. The problem is when you assume confidence to be substance, because all you care for is the exterior. If your fluidity, if your entire eloquence is coming from deep clarity, then it's fine. You can go on and on and on and speak for hours with the greatest fluency possible, and then it is nobody's point that fluency is bad or evil or shallow. No. One has to look at the center. From that center, if one stammers from the right center, even if you hesitate and struggle and stammer, it is still fine. From the right center, if you just take baby steps and struggle, even that is fine. But from the wrong center, even if you take giant leaps, that is still going to be toxic.
so it's all about first identify that which center
Where
it is
are
coming.
my words coming from?
The center.
And then if they're coming from the right center, right? It's all right if I'm speaking with a lot of pauses or even with hesitation or in whichever way possible. Let the substance decide the style. I don't care for style. My emphasis is on substance, the core, the center. That's what I care for. And from there, the expression can take any form and I'll be okay with it. On the other hand, the way it usually happens is nobody cares for the center, and all we are concerned about is how polished is the exterior, right? And how imposing is the personality, how impressive are the words, how refined is the accent, how dominating is the presence.
Correct.
That's what we mostly care about, and that's a problem.
But I think when it, actually I've learned it somewhere in the Gita sessions only that if you are, you have that clarity, you actually end up choosing the right word also. You end up choosing the perfect
The right
vocabulary.
word, the right style, the right admission of ignorance, even that is possible.
Yeah.
No? So we said, let the substance decide the style. Or let the substance decide the absence of style. Even that is fine. You need not carry a signature style. Depending on the context, depending on your understanding of who you are and who you are speaking to, let your style be fluid. Your tone, your choice of words, everything. Why should that be constructed to be impressive?
Yeah.
Let that be a servant to the real task at hand. The real task at hand is there is something here that I consider important to be communicated. Not for my own sake, but for the sake of the truth. And I am communicating not to dominate the other, but to illuminate the other. And for the purpose of illumination, I can be loud or I can be soft. I can fly or I can crawl. Right? Style is not primary. Substance is.
Thank you so much, Acharya Ji. Thank you.
Namaskar, Acharya. So my question is like whenever I take up any work, any normal work, so if everything is going fine, then it is a flow. But the moment I find inconvenience or some stress is there, I tend to run away from that, and I also get arguments in favor of this tendency of mine that it is no measure of health to be well adjusted in a profoundly sick society. And you have also said that ego can tolerate even the mistreatment of the body will get suffering, but ego will tolerate that. So you should not tolerate. Your tolerance limit should be very less. So like this tendency I have to just run away from something that is giving me stress. So like how to know that thing I should carry on with that, or I should just cut off from that.
What do you mean by a thing?
A work which I have taken up.
So why have you taken up a work?
Because that is the best work I could, from my sense, I could figure it out. Yeah, this is the thing.
So why must you run away from it?
If I'm not getting the favorable results, if I'm not feeling in peace with that, I'm feeling stressed in that work, then I feel that maybe this is not the right thing, maybe some other thing is the right thing. To what extent I should just carry on with that?
But if you have decided in your wisdom and in your consideration that the work is right for you, now you must have a bigger and better reason to discard the work. If that reason is there, go ahead. Because there was, first of all, some reason why you picked it up in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Now you want to discard it.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So is there a better reason, or just that you don't want to put in the effort?
Actually, not feeling the peace with the work. I just feel like I should try something else. And this tendency I have of changing works very frequent. That is there.
Remaining who you are, switching from this to this to this will not change anything. Peace is not found in a particular work. Peace is found in the one who chooses the right work. Work cannot bring peace to the worker. The worker, in his wisdom and peace, chooses the right work. The flow is not outside in. The flow is inside out. Otherwise, if we remain internally the same, we'll be choosing the same thing again and again in different names and forms.
So in last session of Zhuang Zhou, I attended that offline, and in that also I asked this question, but I could not quite get satisfied with the answer. That question was, if you are being useful to people, then they will entrap you, and I have seen that. That is very much that's what happens. So you must not be useful. That is what I could interpret from that. And that is my tendency as well, and that is all of us here. That's the tendency of not being useful, of just
Transactionally useful. Transactionally useful. We are not talking of being useful in the real sense. In the real sense, a Buddha is greatly useful. And why would Zhuang Zhou not ask you to be a Buddha. So, when Zhuang Zhou says, if you are useful, then you will be trapped, then he is referring to a particular kind of usefulness. Where I say, I am useful to you because you serve my interests, and you are useful to me because you serve my interests. That kind of usefulness is being talked of, not the real usefulness.